Have you ever some forgetfulness is completely normal with age, but there are also a few common habits that many people over 70 fall into without realizing they may actually be speeding up memory loss. That's what we're going to talk about today. In this video, we're going to go over 4 everyday mistakes that could be shrinking your brain, literally. But here's the good news. Once you know what they are, you can start making small changes to protect your memory and keep your mind sharp, even well into your 80s and beyond. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's dive into the first one. Let's start with something that might surprise you: doing nothing. Yes, I mean those long hours of sitting in the same chair day after day without moving much or thinking much. A lot of people assume that retirement is a time to finally slow down, relax, and take it easy. And yes, rest is important, but too much of it, especially the inactive kind, can do more harm than good. When you're not mentally or physically active, your brain doesn't get the stimulation it needs to stay strong. Think of your brain like a muscle. If you stop using it, it starts to weaken, and that includes the parts that control memory, focus, and problem solving. Sitting for hours on end watching television, scrolling on a phone, or just staring out the window might seem harmless, but over time, it can lead to cognitive decline. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be running marathons or solving algebra problems. Simple activities like walking around the block, reading something new. A lively brain is a healthy brain. Even something as basic as starting your morning by doing a crossword or listening to a new kind of music can wake up your mind in powerful ways. That brings us to the second mistake: repeating the same routine every single day. Now, routines can be comforting. They make us feel safe and organized. But when every day looks exactly the same, your brain isn't being challenged. And when the brain isn't challenged, it stops forming new connections. Think about this. When was the last time you learned something new? Maybe a new word, a new fact, or how to use a new gadget. Learning doesn't have to end when school does, and it shouldn't end at retirement either. In fact, continuing to learn is one of the best ways to keep your memory sharp. You don't have to learn a new language or master a musical instrument unless you want to. It can be as simple as trying a new hobby, like gardening, painting, or using a new kitchen appliance. You could try writing down your memories from childhood to share with your grandchildren. That not only strengthens your memory, but also creates a beautiful keepsake for your family. Even changing up your walking route or brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand can activate different parts of your brain. These little tweaks to your daily life can give your mind the workout it needs. So if your days are starting to feel too predictable, it might be time to mix things up a bit. Let's pause here for a moment. Think about your own routine. Are you challenging yourself regularly, or have things become a bit too automatic? It's never too late to change that. Your brain thrives on novelty. It loves variety. And just like your muscles get stronger with use, your mind becomes more resilient. When it takes a little intention, it takes curiosity, and most of all, it takes kindness to yourself. We've already talked about how too much inactivity and repeating the same day over and over can shrink your brain. But those are just the first 2 mistakes. There's another one coming up next that might surprise you even more, because it's something we often do in silence without telling anyone. We've already talked about how doing nothing and living the same routine every day can quietly chip away at your memory. But there's another mistake many people over 70 make, one that's easy to miss because it doesn't always show on the outside. It happens quietly, often in the background, and sometimes we don't even realize it's happening until it's already taken a toll. I'm talking about chronic loneliness. Now, I know this might sound like more of an emotional issue than a brain issue, but let me tell you, loneliness doesn't just hurt your heart, it changes your brain. In fact, recent studies have shown that long-term loneliness can lead to memory problems, confusion, and even increase the risk of dementia. It's that serious. Here's the thing. As we get older, our social circles often get smaller. Friends move. Family gets busy, loved ones pass away. You might find yourself spending more and more time alone, especially after retirement. At first, it might feel peaceful, but too much isolation, especially when it's not your choice, can create stress inside your laughter. No sharing stories. It's easy to underestimate how much we need connection, but our brains are wired for it. Something as simple as a 10-minute chat, a phone call with an old friend, or even talking to a neighbor about the weather, it all helps to activate different areas of your brain. Social interaction isn't just nice, it's necessary. It keeps your language skills sharp, helps you process emotions, and strengthens your sense of identity. And when you feel seen and heard, your brain relaxes. You think more clearly. You remember better. So if you've been spending more time alone than you'd like, attending a local class, you don't have to be surrounded by people to stay mentally sharp, but you do need meaningful engagement, even if it's with ideas, books, or shared interests. Alright, let's talk about the fourth mistake, and this one might be the most common of all. It's something we've all done, probably without thinking much about it. I'm talking about poor sleep. Now, before you say, that's just part of getting older, hear me out. Yes, sleep patterns can change as we age, but that doesn't mean poor sleep is something we should just accept. In fact, not getting enough restorative sleep can have a major impact on brain health, especially the kind of deep sleep that clears out toxins and strengthens memories. When you don't sleep well, whether it's because you wake up too early, have trouble falling asleep, or toss and turn all night, your brain doesn't get the chance to recharge. It's during deep sleep that your brain actually cleans house. It processes everything you've learned, sorts your memories, and clears away waste. And if that doesn't happen night after night, it starts to show up as brain fog, forgetfulness, or confusion during the day. Have you ever had one of those days where you just feel off, like you can't quite concentrate or remember simple things? These can throw off your natural sleep cycle, and sometimes, if you're waking up frequently at night, it could be worth talking to your doctor, because sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, or even certain medications could be part of the problem. Good sleep isn't a luxury, it's a foundation for brain health. And the more you protect your sleep, the more you protect your memory, your mood, and your overall well-being. Now let's take a moment to reflect. You've already learned about 4 key habits that can shrink your brain. Being too inactive, repeating the same routine every day, living with too much loneliness, and not getting quality sleep. These are mistakes so many people make, not because they're careless, but simply because they don't know how much it matters. But now you do, and that puts you in a powerful position. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Just start where you are. Take one small step. Maybe today it's calling someone you haven't spoken to in a while, or maybe it's turning off the TV a little earlier tonight so you can wind down, or maybe tomorrow you'll try brushing your teeth with your other hand just to give your brain a little surprise. Every small change you make adds up, and the beauty of the brain is it's always listening, it's always learning, it's always ready for something new. You know, one of the most powerful things about this stage of life is the wisdom you've earned, the experiences, the lessons, the memories. These aren't just things you've lived through. They're proof of how strong and resilient your brain has been all along. And just because you've reached your 70s or beyond doesn't mean that has to change. You're the same routine, spending too much time alone, and missing out on good sleep can quietly shrink your brain over time. But now you're aware of them, and awareness is the first step toward change. So what can you do starting today? You don't have to make dramatic changes to see real results. In fact, the best improvements come from steady, consistent steps. Reach out. It doesn't have to be a long talk. And if you've been struggling with sleep lately, be gentle with yourself. Sleep can be tricky, especially as we age, but with patience and a few changes in your evening habits, you can start to feel more rested and more mentally clear one night at a time. Remember this, your brain wants to work for you. It wants to keep learning, solving, remembering, connecting, and as long as you give it what it needs, it will keep showing up for you in ways that matter. Like and subscribe my channel.